Anemones and ranunculus. Who doesn't love them? Anemones are such a quintessential flower of spring with their smiling, open faces. And ranunculus, also known as the roses of spring, they are just soft and romantic and nostalgic and go with just tulips and daffodils and just look utterly beautiful. But they are tricky to get going and they are tricky to get cropping. I know, I've spent quite a few seasons kind of battling with these ugly ducklings of corms. But if you want to turn these ugly ducklings into beautiful flowers, I'm going to share my top 5 things to think about for making a successful crop of these. So what are the 5 factors of success for growing these tricky but beautiful flowers? And I could share with you like my exact process, but I think it's more beneficial to share with you those criteria that are going to mean that you're going to be successful. So the first thing is how you pre-sprout them. It really matters to give them a good start. And I'm going to share with you the things that I found out from doing it the wrong way on that one. The second thing is the soil mix that you put them into. This I have found is a kind of revolution. If you haven't got the soil mix right, they're never going to sprout. The third thing is the growing conditions that you put them under. So when you have them in that soil mix and you've pre-sprouted them. The fourth thing is how you actually plant them in that soil mix, because that does matter. And the fifth thing, it's the most important thing. It's about getting the moisture levels right from the start to when they've actually sprouted. So, what do you need to do? So, pre-sprouting. Why is it so important to do this, and where can you go wrong on it? Well, pre-sprouting is really vital for both anemones and ranunculus. They come as shriveled little things, and you think, gosh, that looks terribly unpromising. How am I ever going to get a flower from that? But they do need to have a little bit of a helping hand to get them hydrated again, because essentially they've been dormant for ages. It's actually a great way to store them because it's moisture that gets things going. Now, the tricky thing with pre-sprouting is you can't overdo it on the water. So what I've found over experimenting over years is 2 to 3 hours of putting them in water in a glass bowl is enough. So I use these kind of little jelly molds. I pour the water in and I only just cover them. Now, a lot of people put them in kind of netting bags. They have oxygenated water coming through. I genuinely can't justify the amount of wasted water kind of pouring that through. For sustainability reasons, I just can't do it. And you don't need to, because if you just change that water every hour or so, it's fresh enough. And if you don't, I never fill the thing up to here, the container up to here, because you're kind of drowning your corms. My experience is you can overhydrate on the pre-sprouting. You can almost kind of pre-rot them. So that's why I limit it to 2 or 3 hours, and then that's why you'll have a completely hydrated corm, and you'll be able to then take them on from there. So overdoing it is as damaging as underdoing it. The soil mix, it's a really, really critical thing for growing anemones and ranunculus. And actually I've needed to re-experiment and reformulate because I've stopped using peat. So I now use non-peat in all of my mixes. So you get kind of into these habits and then you use it, and then you suddenly think, do you know what, I'm not going to use that anymore. The critical thing with the soil mix, with anything that you do use, is it needs to be fine. So in my mixes now, I use Silver Grow, which is bark. I sometimes need to sieve it, and particularly for getting your mix right for your anemones and your ranunculus, they need a fine mix to go through. So I've sieved this. I also add a little bit of just John Innes soil. So I've got about 50-50 of that soil, but the key thing that I have found is to add vermiculite. So vermiculite gives it enough air, because what you're trying to do is kind of nestle your corms in that soil and make it really easy for them to spread their roots out and to start to grow. There's just no friction. They just are nestled in a big pillowy bit of soil and they're really, really comfortable. So the mix I use is 50-50 vermiculite and soil, and you can see that it looks quite a lot, and it looks like there's almost not enough soil to grow in there, but there will be. So I've showed you me mixing this, and so you can see what it actually looks like when it's sort of 50-50, and you can experiment. You might have different growing medium from me, you might have different experiences. What I found out was if I didn't put the soil in, I couldn't get them to initially grow very well. But also, if I didn't have that soil that was hydrated, then it was too dry a mix, and it also didn't work. So it's about getting those levels right. You don't want it too wet, you don't want it too dry. And it's really a balance between the two. Now I have got these trays and I use them. I put the soil into here, and this is deep enough for getting your corms, both anemones and ranunculus, to sprout. And then when I've got my first batch sprouted, I sometimes reuse that material, because it's all resource, isn't it? And it's all effort. So you just need to be conscious, I think, of you reusing and your ability to reuse. So just spread it in there, and it's deep enough, and it's a good way. I found that a great way to get my corms going. So you've pre-sprouted your tiny ugly corms for those beautiful flowers. You've got a good soil mix that works for you. So what growing conditions, what light and heat and environment do you need to put those corms in to really get them to thrive and sprout for you and grow? So over the years, I've learned the hard way, because these things are a little bit expensive, let's be honest, about how you best get them to thrive. They need to be in the dark. They don't like being in the light, is my experience. They also don't like being too cold. So you plant them at this time of year in the autumn going into winter, but you need that initial period of warmth just to get their roots out, just to get their shoots out. They don't actually flower and grow that well in the heat at all. So it's ironic in a way that you need to have them kind of warmed initially. But my experience is if you don't have that dark and that warmth, then they just don't get going. So that is a really critical point. So what's the optimum planting for an anemone and a ranunculus? Gosh, it's tricky to say that sometimes, isn't it? So it's actually different for the two of them. So I'm going to take them one at a time. So anemones, they are these kind of odd-shaped kind of corms. And I spent years literally looking at them thinking, which way up do I put that? Do I put it the pointy way up? Can I see the roots on it? And do you know what? I discovered that it doesn't matter after all that time. So with anemones, it really doesn't matter which way up you put them in. You just have to put them in and cover them with the soil. And that's a really important consideration, because I honestly think you could spend hours just wasting time thinking, oh, have I got that one up the right way? However, with ranunculus, it does really matter which way up you put them. So these are often called octopus. They kind of are, they're kind of cute, aren't they? And these little legs, as well, little tentacles, they are quite delicate, but that is the way to plant them up. Tentacles down, where you can almost see the stem coming out of the top. That is the top. If you plant them like that, it's not really going to work, as I have found out. So with ranunculus, it's very different from anemones. You have to really get them in the soil the right way up, and then they will start to create roots and shoots for you. But with anemones, you can chuck them in. You don't have to be particular about them. So I like to place the ranunculus out in the tray, and I usually do a sort of 3 or 4 width of ranunculus, and I lay them out. So these are all white. I do think growing white for spring is a great idea because it's really versatile. It picks up on all the great colours of spring, which are sort of pastel-y. But you do have to have enough space for them to kind of get going. So once I've laid them out, I kind of bury them and then cover them over. So they're in this tray. It's about an inch buried, cover them over, and then you just keep going so that they're all kind of nestled into this mixture of soil that's damp but not too damp. And they're covered over, but they're not kind of like too deep. And you can get quite a few in the tray, and it doesn't matter, you know, if they're like, I don't think these are too packly in, but they do need a little bit of space. So almost there with this. You can see it's fairly quick once you've got your soil mix and once you've got your anemone corms. And then I just bang the tray to get it straight, and I will cover that in newspaper, and I'll take it in the house to make sure that it's warm enough, because it is getting really cold out here now. So just like with your ranunculus corms, I lay out my anemone corms, and the difference here is you don't need to worry about which way they go in. So I've laid them out and I bury them, I just push them in, and this is enough of a space. I don't have them touching, but they're in these trays which I reuse all the time, and they're in that nice wet but not too wet soil mix. They're hydrated, so they've lost all their wrinkliness, and I put them in so that you can't see them, but they're not super deep because these trays aren't super deep. And then I will, like the ranunculus, I will cover them and give them a little bit of heat, and then that will be in 2 or 3 weeks' time full of sprouting anemones. So you've got your pre-sprouting sorted, your soil mix, you've managed to optimise that, you've got your growing conditions for you really spot on. You've also managed to plant them the right way up for your ranunculus, and also for your anemones, you know, you just need to put them in there. But here's the final point for growing these ugly little things, ugly little ducklings that turn into just beautiful white swans: the moisture levels throughout the growing period. So although you've hydrated them initially and not over-hydrated them, you're putting them in your soil mix, which I've chatted about the kind of moisture levels in there, but you need to keep an eye on them. So I cover my trays with newspaper, and sometimes, even though you go through the process, all of those corms come and they're slightly different sizes. They all have been grown differently and harvested differently. So you need to accommodate that. And this is one of those things where, however long you've been growing anemones and ranunculus, you still have to have this monitoring phase of this critical 2 to 3 weeks when they're going to appear. So there's a moment when you know they're going to be successful, the roots start to go down, and it's really important not to fiddle with them then. I'm no patience, but if you start to move them, it disturbs the roots and they can't kind of get going. However, you do need to check them to make sure that they are getting going. Now, one of the things that's a really common mistake is either to have the soil too wet, which you rot them and they get mold, or too dry, in which case, even though you've hydrated them, they never get going. And those moisture levels are absolutely critical. So I've gone back to my bulbs, and if they haven't germinated and the soil's been too dry, you can feel them. And if they're hydrated, they feel cold because they have enough moisture in them. But sometimes they just feel dry, and so you might need to just hydrate them for a little bit more time. It is a little bit of practice and experience at this point. Most of them will come up and they'll be fine, but sometimes you have to kind of play around a little bit with the moisture levels. But I would say it's always better to underhydrate rather than overwater both anemones and ranunculus, because you're in real danger of rotting them. So in the spirit of sharing the failures as well, this is where I haven't got it quite right. So I've got 2 varieties in this tray. I only bought a few chocolate, and this is called marshmallow. And you can see the chocolate have kind of come up and are fine and great, but the marshmallow, look at that corm, it's not doing anything at all. And that one isn't kind of like, you know, doing anything. So I'm thinking, but then this one is. I'm thinking I've got the moisture levels a little bit wrong in that critical growing period. And this is what happens if you don't sit them, and this is why they're so tricky. And they're beautiful, but they are tricky. So this bit was fine, this bit wasn't fine. So I will have a feel of these. I think they're moist enough. I'm going to rehydrate that soil, bury them again, give them a little bit of heat, and then I think I'll be able to germinate them. So I just wanted to show you another tray of ranunculus, because quite honestly I think they are the tricky ones. And you can see when they start to go how they produce their little roots and their little shoots, and I will now pot that up into another little pot and to give it, you know, its own space, because, you know, things like their own space, and these will really be ready for planting out in January. And you can see this is another variety that I've planted called Purple Jean. It's a little bit slower. You know, not everything grows at an equal rate, but you can see they're starting to come through, and they are, you know, really, really germinating. So, but there is something, a secret I haven't told you yet about success with both anemones and in particular ranunculus. Sometimes I've looked at my trays and nothing's happening, and I look and they're not there. So mice, they love them. They just love them. So if you have a little kind of, you know, 4-legged friends where you're growing, I now put my trays up, I hang them from, you know, the greenhouse. So they'd have to be literally 007 to get to these. I mean, you really need to do that though. So I thought I'd show you what a sprouting anemone looks like, and that film, Little Shop of Horrors, it reminds me of these kind of odd things coming up. And if I just root down into this soil, you can see how they actually grow. And it's just that root, that shoot, and I will then pot that up so that it's got its own little space, its own little soil, and I will keep that in a cold greenhouse. And one of the reasons why I don't plant mine out until January, well, to be honest, we live right next to the canal. We have lots of 4-legged friends who find these a terribly tasty treat. So after getting to the point when they've all sprouted and they look kind of beautiful, I don't want to risk putting them out and them just all to be gobbled up. So I keep them in my cold greenhouse until January, and then I plant them out. Now I don't have any polytunnels. I plant them out in low caterpillar tunnels, and they do really well in those. I get, you know, 3, 5, 7, you know, kind of ranunculus flowers per plant. You cut them and then they just keep flowering if you keep them well. So although they are a little bit expensive, they're a little bit tricky, they're a little bit sort of, you know, you have to guard against particularly, you know, the wildlife because they love them, they are so worth persevering with. And I hope the tips and hints and pain and sharing the successes and failures means that you will have a very successful ranunculus and anemone season. Let me know how you're getting on. See you in the next video.